Linda, welcome back to the show. It's always great to visit with you.
Thanks, Cable. Great to see you too.
It is my pleasure. First of all, how in the world are you? It's been a couple months since we visited.
Doing well, just kind of anxious for fall hunting seasons to get started. I've enjoyed the summer, but I kind of just like I said, can't wait to get out in the field now.
And so, what are your big plans for this fall? It seems like everyone's lost so many hunts, so many.
Well, I have had to postpone a few too, and I've tried to focus staying more on U.S. where things hopefully will go as planned. But got some deer hunts coming up. Hitting California here in less than 2 weeks for coastal blacktail,
Okay,
whitetail in Texas and Kansas. We're going to add all that onto the white Texas hunt as well. So
nice.
that's exciting. I enjoyed that. A couple waterfowl hunts. Going to try to get into Canada. They've just reopened the border, so I'm going to be brave enough to try that venture, and then also heading up to Maine for ducks. So quite a few things on the calendar.
Wonderful. Yeah, I've got this bear hunt that I saw that if you're vaccinated, you could go. My wife's like, just one more reason for you to get back. She's vaccinated. I'm not, but I had COVID, and I was just like, well, it was 2 days of not feeling well. So, but now with this Delta variant and everything, she's a nurse practitioner, and she said we're starting to see more kids come into the hospital sick now than we did the first go around. So I don't know. I haven't made up my mind, but it is tempting to get the shot so I can go hunt
Well,
black bear up there.
I did for basically what you just said. It opens the door for me to be able to travel a little bit more easily, in some international trips. So I decided to go ahead with it.
Yeah. You did mention California, so I think that would be about the only reason why I would go to California go hunting. Like,
I would agree. And I'll be honest, I did this hunt about, 4 years ago. And it was really my first time into that central coast region of California. And I go, okay, I get it why people might want to live here. If it was just as far as not politics, but
right.
the abundance of wildlife and the wineries, and it's just a beautiful part of California that I hadn't seen before.
Mm-hmm.
But it's challenging to hunt there. As a non-resident, you cannot travel with ammo into the state. You have to arrange for the ammo to be shipped to your outfitter or borrow it from your outfitter. So it's a bit of a challenge. They don't make it easy to hunt in California.
I mean, that's like international hunting,
Yes,
right here at home. But
right.
yeah, I turned 40 this week, and I'm going to Florida. I looked at it, I was like, I'm not going to spend any money in California, so we're
Yeah.
going to go snook fishing in Florida. And
Oh my gosh, love snook. One of
I've
my
never caught
favorite.
one, so
Oh,
bucket
incredible
list.
eating too. So good luck.
Yeah. Um, I shifting gears here. I went into Academy the other day, and they actually had ammo on the shelves. They had 6.5 Creedmoor, 243, 30-06, 9mm, 7 mag, some of the real popular calibers that it seemed like if you found them, it was like a needle in the haystack. Like, wow, look what I found. And they had a bunch of it. So I bought my 4 boxes of 243.
Good.
I tried to go to the register with 8 boxes, and the guy was like, no, sir, you can only buy 4. I was like, okay. I went outside, put them in the truck, went back in, and got 4 more.
But at least thank goodness you're seeing ammo, right?
Uh-huh.
I,
Yep.
I think that's the trend we're starting to see around the country. I'm getting reports of there being some availability, but still, like you said, limits on the number of boxes you can purchase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he looked at me like I was crazy when I was like, "Here are my 8 boxes." He's like, "No." Yeah. Okay. Well, dove season is right around the corner. September 1st. Be
It
here
is.
before we know it. I know my favorite. Well, I've got 2 favorites. I've got the Silver Reserve over
Right?
under, which I love, especially for dove hunting and wing shooting. And then also, what is the? I've got a semi-auto 20 gauge as well with a wooden stock, and I can't
Yes,
remember
the SA-20.
Okay, what would you say is are Mossberg's most popular shotguns when it comes to early season stuff like dove or early teal?
Well, no question. I think you probably touched on them. And the over and unders are extremely popular. And we just upgraded our series of the reserve. We now have the silver and the gold.
Mm-hmm.
That was introduced earlier this year. The silver is more of a field type gun. It's still beautiful. Have choice of a walnut or synthetic stock and available, 12, 20, 28 and 410. Um, you could step up though if you're interested in more of a kind of higher grade. You can get the Gold series, which I think's a little bit more dedicated to the clay shooter, but would be perfectly at home in the field too. But it has a little higher grade of wood, beautiful walnut finishes. It's available in the 12, 20, and 410. Um, basic differences. Some things like the Gold series has ejectors instead of extractors, but um, very solid over and under shotguns. We do import them, but they come into our facility there in Texas and they go through our QC process and a tremendous value. I mean, you can get in the synthetic version of the Silver Reserve for about $650.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a traditional kind of guy, so I like the wood look, but that is a very affordable price point. Let me ask you this: as far as over unders go, is there any? And I'm sure like someone that's professional skeet shooter would say yes, do it this way, but I don't know. I think I usually shoot the top barrel first and the bottom barrel second. What is the kosher way to do that? Or is there any methodology to like making?
I'm not one of those people that's really hung up on that. I think you set it up for what works for you.
Uh-huh.
And that's the beauty of an over and under, though. You can choose your chokes based on what you're shooting and for follow up shots. So I say set it up for what works for you.
Okay.
I'm not going to be somebody that frowns on you for not doing it the proper way.
Well, I don't even know what the proper way is.
I'm not sure I do either.
They say it takes a Texas dove hunter 7 shots on average for each dove.
Yes.
And we kill 10 million dove a year, so that's 70 million shotgun loads. I'm like between about 3 or 4 shots per dove, so I feel like I'm doing pretty good. But as far as like
ammo companies love people like you and me. I'm that way too.
Yeah. Well, they love people like my father-in-law who's half blind, and I only might take him a box of shells to hit one dove.
Hey,
I don't sit close to him.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, it's the start of the season. We're all warming up, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, on the heels of dove season, obviously we'll have waterfowl season. You guys have a new 940 waterfowl. I think the JM, the Jerry Mikulak version has been available for a while, but
It has.
I know I know the waterfowl, the 940, will be here for this season.
That's right. Really excited about that. I mean, right out of the gate, the 940 JM Pro just was a home run, particularly with the competitive shooting world. The 940 is a new platform, and I think one of the beauties of it is that new gas system, which means you don't have to clean it as often. I know we chatted about that before. You can go from up to 1,500 rounds before it requires cleaning. So, we started with a competitive version because we thought that's a great proving ground to show the reliability and the abuse that a gun can take. And so now we're excited this fall, and it's not officially been announced yet.
Who better to do that than Jerry Mikulak? I mean,
yeah, exactly. And though it's not been officially announced yet, we'll let your listeners in on a bit of news. We're going to have waterfowl versions coming out. There'll be 2, the Pro Series waterfowl and then the Pro Series Snow Goose. So that has the extended magazine for up to 13 round capacity.
Oh, wow.
For those areas where snow goose hunting, you're not required to have your gun plugged. But they're both going to have all the great features of the 940. The internal parts are coated to increase, less friction, that ability to go longer in between cleaning, oversized operating the bolt handle and the bolt release, kind of an enlarged trigger guard. So we've got a glove on in later seasons, easy to handle there. I think the biggest feature that I love is that adjustability. And we've talked about that. In the stock, there's actually spacers where you can go from 13 to 14 and quarter inches. So for me, being kind of shorter, that shorter length works for me. But maybe for you, as you add layers in later season, you might find that you want to make the adjustment too to have the gun fit you a little better.
Okay. Yeah, right on. I was just thinking about that, and Henry actually shot his little 410 for the first time yesterday. We went to the deer lease.
Oh, wonderful.
The kids.
How'd he do?
He shot it once and was like, yeah, that kicked a little more than my 17 HMR. I was like, well, yeah, and it's going to. He's like, I think I might dove hunt next year. So we'll see. Well, he's only 8 and he
Right.
weighs 60 pounds soaking wet. So
Yeah.
but yeah, he shot a beer can and thought that was pretty cool. And then the one of the twins, Stella, she every time she sees a dove on a power line, she just rubs her belly and licks her lips. And like,
So that's one
okay,
of her favorites, huh?
yeah, oh yeah. So I pulled them out of school on September 1st last year. My wife was like, okay, this is the last time you're doing that. I was like, oh, okay. I wink at the kids. And then she works on September 1st this year. So we'll see what happens.
I bet I know what
Pretty sure
happened.
those kids are going to be absent. um, and you guys are going to actually be at the NRA show in Houston
That's
Labor
right.
Day weekend.
Yep, coming up Labor Day weekend, we'll be there, have a booth full of guns on display. So anybody that's listening, we encourage you to come out. We should have some of the new guns too. That's the plan now. We'll have those new 940s on display.
Right on. Awesome. What about handguns? We had talked about, well, pre-pandemic, a lot of things have changed obviously over the last 18 months, but you didn't like 100% commit to it, but you said, yeah, we're probably going to have a new caliber available at some point in time.
Yeah, we're not there yet. I will say that fourth quarter this year, um, we will be introducing another variation of the MC platform. Probably shouldn't release too much more information than that
That's
if I want to keep my job.
Okay.
But we've really listened to feedback. With the handgun project, we've kind of done it differently. As we're ready to launch, or we have a gun that's pretty much close to launch, we brought together a group of media people from across the country and let them put the guns through the rigors out at gun site. And we've actually taken their feedback and gone back and modified and made changes. And that's what you're going to find with the next version that's coming out. We incorporated the changes straight from the market, what people are telling us that we need to have in a concealable handgun at this point. So gonna have to stay tuned just a little bit longer. I can't give away any more secrets right now.
Okay. That's okay. Well, it's nice. I mean, obviously you guys have the 9mm right now available. And that's one of the few calibers that you can actually find ammo for. It seems like even during the pandemic, that was one that I was like, okay, I know I can always get 9mm.
Right.
45 has been a little bit more difficult, but if you're listening to your consumers, that would be where I would bet my money. Hopefully. Well, we won't turn the screws on you there. What about, here's a question for you. And
Okay.
I've seen this a lot with Western hunters leading up to the election, post-election, all this, we got to vote for Biden, we got to vote for Biden, we got to vote for Biden. As someone who works in the firearm manufacturing industry, how do you reconcile that? Like the idea that we can be hunters and gun enthusiasts, but also like vote for someone who says, I want to take your guns away. And I'm the kind of person who says, or who believes when someone says, I want to do this thing that I'm openly telling you I want to do, I want to take your guns. I think that they intend to do that.
I'm with you 100%, and I can't wrap my arms around that. Anybody who is such a strong participant and believer in our Second Amendment rights in the hunting and shooting sports, I don't know how you could be inclined to vote for any politician who states so boldly that their plan is to restrict or ban firearms that are perfectly legal for use, whether it be for home protection or for enjoying the shooting sports. So, that's really a hot topic, but in my mind, there's no other decision to make. You have to go for politicians that are pro Second Amendment. The only choice to make.
I 100% agree. And I think that a lot of those people fail to understand the impact of Pittman-Robertson dollars also, which is ammunition sales. Like there are tons of people that don't hunt that shoot religiously.
Yes.
Those people are also funding conservation, whether they know it or not, or even care. Some of them might not even have any idea, but they are. When they buy ammo, okay, this is going to fund conservation through the Pittman-Robertson Act, which I think was enacted in 1937. And it's literally funded billions of dollars since its inception for North American conservation. When you cast a vote for someone who's against that, I mean, think of all of the ammunition that's funding that, like I just alluded to.
Yes. Yeah.
That's going to go away. And so, and they do it a lot of them have done it under the guise of Trump was bad for conservation, which pisses me off because we got the Great American Outdoors Act.
Right.
We got the Dingell Johnson Act. In my lifetime, there hasn't been a president that's done more for conservation, hunter access, hunters' rights. And
Yeah.
so, I don't know. It seems like none of it really adds up to me, but it's out there. And so we'll just keep fighting that fight, try to educate people.
Oh, absolutely. I think you just hit it. Education is the key, and we forget to talk about how much money, as you said, goes back into conservation thanks to hunters and shooters.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about backlog right now. I know probably when we spoke 6 months ago or 9 months ago, because we do this every quarter. I mean, you guys were at like a year and a half as far as if you
Oh
ordered
yeah.
a gun, and that's not exclusive to Mossberg. I mean, that's where the firearm industry is. You order a gun, yeah, you're going to get it in 18 months. Are we still in that same situation?
Well, we're making some strides. I think we're seeing the market slow slightly, not significantly, but slightly. We're now to a point where I'd say we're 12 months out, so we're heading in the
Okay.
right direction. Mossberg's really been focusing on streamlining our production processes so we can increase production. And from January of last year to January of this year, we're actually doubling production. So if people think we're not building guns, that's not true. We've actually increased production. It just gives you a clear indication of how many people are purchasing guns and how many orders there are out there.
Yeah, it's awesome. But also as a consumer, frustrating at the same time.
It
Now,
is.
well, that's no one's fault. Are you guys so like has Mossberg just been working 24/7 to increase production, or have you put it like built new factories, or how have you done that?
No, we did not go to 24/7. What we did was actually we started this process prior to the pandemic, thank goodness, and the craziness of the past 18 months. We actually started implementing lean processing probably about 2.5, 3 years ago. So it is a slow process that we focused on each individual area of production in our factories. And then, now we're going into even buying products, buying parts and pieces and the way we process everything we do within the company. And all of it comes together to actually increase production.
Mhm.
Yes, we did also invest in capital and some new machinery and hired some people. But, we're cautious about that because if there is a big slowdown, the last thing you want to do is have to lay off people. So
Mhm.
we've really tried to approach it in a way that it makes sense and look at streamlining manufacturing so that we can increase production.
Mhm. And it's interesting because like I think the first 3 years during the Trump administration, like AR sales went down,
Right.
correct?
Yes.
And you saw a lot of these is not so much manufacturers. There were some smaller ones, but a lot of the accessories companies like just tanked.
Yeah.
And if they, I feel bad because if they could have hung on for just a little bit longer, we've got this pandemic and all of these social justice initiatives, and then all of that went out the window, and it's now
Right.
like I can't find an AR. So it's crazy what we've seen here in the last 2 years. Absolutely.
It is. Again, I've never seen anything like it in my career.
Hmm. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to ask you, Linda. I don't know if there is or not, but
Now,
I'm
don't
certainly
forget rifles. Big game season's coming up.
yeah.
I don't have a lot of big news there. I think we may by SHOT Show time, but we are adding the 300 Blackout to our MVP lineup.
Okay.
And I had an opportunity to shoot that a couple of weeks ago just at the range, and I was really blown away at how accurate it was and actually reaching out a little bit further than I expected for the blackouts. So
Hmm.
I've decided I'm going to take it on the Texas deer hunt and give it a try.
Awesome. Yeah, that's definitely a round that's very popular among hog hunters, especially in the thermal game when you're
Yes.
stocking up on these pigs. Sometimes within 50 yards, even closer. But like you mentioned, at distance, that bullet's traveling pretty slow. What what would you be comfortable shooting in whitetail at
Well,
distance
I'm gonna,
wise?
I've got to check. I only shot one round. That's all I had available. So I kind of need to do my homework on that before I decide for sure. But I mean, we were banging steel out to 300 yards.
Okay.
But I don't think that's what I'm thinking about for a whitetail. I think we'd probably be looking at under 200.
Uh-huh.
But I definitely got to do my research and on the available ammo out there.
Yeah. Um, as far as big game rifles, I've run the gamut on the Patriot. Have everything from I think a 22 250 to the 375 Ruger I took on the buffalo hunt in
Right.
February. Now I finally got my suppressor, and so I have 3 calibers that are threaded in the 7 mag, the 6.5 Creedmoor, which is what I usually have my thermal scope on,
Right.
and then a 243, which Henry is going to upgrade from the 22 250 this fall.
Perfect.
And yeah, so which models do come threaded for people out there that have do have suppressors?
We actually are threading them all now.
Oh wow.
So you probably have some of the earlier ones, but
Oh yeah,
we
for sure.
actually implemented that as a running change in the line because we're finding that people do want to suppress a lot more. So yep, they're all coming threaded now.
That's awesome, and I'm certainly glad I asked that because of a point that needs to be made
Yeah.
for sure. I was hunting with the kiddos in the we were sitting in the deer blind the other day looking for hogs, and they had been beating me up all summer, like, Dad, take us to the deer lease, take us to the deer lease. Okay, well, school starts this week, so I was like, this is you have 2 days where you don't have any soccer or any other activities. We're going.
Right.
So we filled the feeders and put out a bunch of new cameras and did some trimming and just routine maintenance that you do at deer camp. And then we went and sat in the blind, and it was like 150 degrees, and I mean, I'm sweating, they're smiling, I'm like, this is miserable. And the twins got out to go pee, and they're like, Dad, there's a coyote. And I'm like, oh man. It was like at least 300 and something yards away, and I was like, okay, they're literally standing outside of the blind. I think one of them might have her pants down. And I'm like, okay. So I line it up and ended up dropping this thing. They just thought that it was that Dad was some kind of hero. Because I think I was
I
like,
saw your post on Facebook.
better to be lucky than good, but that was the 7 mag, and it was like I said, we were hog hunting, but it was suppressed, and the girls were like, Dad, I can't believe how quiet that was. So
Right. Yeah.
I highly recommend for anyone introducing your kiddos to shooting sports or hunting, get a suppressor. It's a game changer. And I only had to wait about 6 months for mine, so that's definitely on the lower end. I think a lot of people have to wait a year, but it all depends
It's
on.
worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, for sure, for sure. And then the other thing is it takes the recoil, cuts it in about half. So I wouldn't have let Henry shoot the 7 mag, but he did shoot it just at steel, and he was like, no, I'm good on that one. But 6.5 Creedmoor, he shot
Yes.
that 243, no problem.
Right.
And that's coming up from a 22 250 that really doesn't kick at all. So yeah, I think you can definitely get your kid into a bigger caliber with a suppressor. And that's awesome that you guys are threading them all.
Oh, yeah. You mentioned though kids though too, but any new shooter or when you're just hunting with somebody, why not kind of protect everybody's hearing with that reduced muzzle blast? So yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how I'm sure you saw that Texas passed that law where we're just going to make our own suppressors and basically give the federal government the middle finger. And then they responded and sent to all I think all FFL dealers in Texas, or might have just been manufacturers, I'm not sure, but basically said, we're going to be coming for you if you do this. So we'll see how all that plays out, but
Yeah.
they already have a track record of not enforcing it when it comes to marijuana. So, I mean, Colorado basically said, here's our middle finger, come take our weed if you want to. Now they're going to do the same. We're trying to do the same thing with suppressors, and we'll see if the feds have the stomach for that fight. But it is interesting to follow along on that situation.
Yes, it is.
Well, cool. Well, I hope you have a great fall, and
You too.
starting off in California there.
Yes.
Hope you drink some wine. But it's a shame. California is such a beautiful state, probably the most beautiful state in the country, I would say. But unless you're, like I said, you're going hunting, that's great. I don't think I could. I don't know. Last time I was in San Francisco, somebody spit on me, just a homeless guy. And I was just
Oh,
like,
well, see, I'm gonna avoid the big cities.
Yeah. I think I'm good on California,
Yeah.
but I do want to see a picture of that blacktail.
You bet.
So, well, good luck on that.
Thank
We'll
you.
welcome you
Happy
to
birthday
Texas.
to you.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, Linda, always a pleasure. And I look forward to our next conversation.
All right. Take care.
You too.